Thanks for the Christmas card you sent me, Violet. I didn't send you a Christmas card, Charlie Brown.
It was 1965. The holiday season was on television, and a little boy in a red and black zigzag shirt walked onto the screen looking like he had the weight of the world on his shoulders. This is the entire story of a Charlie Brown Christmas, a holiday that doesn't feel right. The special opens on a winter afternoon. The sky is pale and gray, snow covers the ground in soft drifts, and the world outside has that particular stillness that only comes at the cold months. Somewhere nearby, a group of children are already out on a frozen pond, skating and chasing each other across the ice.
Nobody sent me a Christmas card today. I almost wish there weren't a holiday season.
Charlie Brown and his best friend Linus Van Pelt are walking together through the snow, bundled up against the chill, on their way to join the others. Before they get there, Charlie Brown stops. He turns to Linus and says something that doesn't quite fit the season. He tells Linus that he knows he should be happy, that Christmas is here, that everything around him is supposed to feel festive and warm and full of joy, and yet he isn't. He genuinely likes the Christmas season. He likes the presents and the cards and the trees and the decorations. He likes all of it in the way anyone would, but none of it is making him feel the way he thinks he should feel, and the gap between what he expects and what he actually feels is bothering him more than he can put into words.
I'm supposed to get down to the school auditorium and direct a Christmas play.
You write it and I'll tell you what I want to say.
Linus listens and then does what Linus usually does. He tries to be kind about it. He tells Charlie Brown not to overthink it, not to let the whole season become a problem. But the reassurance doesn't really settle anything. The two of them keep walking. When they reach the pond, the rest of the Peanuts gang is already in full motion. The ice is busy with kids going in every direction. Snoopy gets a game of Crack the Whip going almost immediately, and in the middle of it, he grabs Linus's blanket right out of his hands and uses it like a whip. The result being Charlie Brown tumbling off the end and landing flat in a snowbank beside the ice. Charlie Brown lands on his back, stares up at the pale gray sky for a beat, then picks himself up without much ceremony.
Presents and sending Christmas cards and decorating trees and all that, but I'm still not happy.
The kids are scattered across the pond doing different things. Some of them are catching snowflakes on their tongues, heads tilted back and mouths open. Others gather by a fence post and line up snowballs, one after another, trying to knock a tin can balanced at the top. They take turns throwing and miss one after another. Then Linus steps up, fashions a careful sling out of his blanket, takes one measured swing, and the can flies off the post. The others react with surprised appreciation. Charlie Brown watches all of this from slightly off to the side, present in the scene, but not quite at the center of it the way everyone else seems to be. After a while, he drifts away from the pond entirely. On the walk back through the neighborhood, he stops at his mailbox and opens it slowly.
To be your trouble. I feel depressed. I know I should be happy, but I'm not.
It is empty. Not one Christmas card. He stands there for a moment, looking at the empty mailbox, then closes it quietly and moves on. He passes Violet along the way. She barely looks at him. Then he comes across Pigpen, who has managed to put together a snowman that carries the same dusty, smudged quality as everything Pigpen touches. The snowman looks like it was assembled in a sandstorm. Charlie Brown watches for a moment and keeps walking, and the afternoon settles around him heavier than it started. The psychiatrist's booth. Charlie Brown finds his way to Lucy Van Pelt's psychiatric booth, the little outdoor stand she sets up with a sign on the front that reads 5 cents per session.
May I help you?
I'm in sad shape.
Wait a minute. Before you begin, I must ask that you pay in advance.
Lucy is sitting behind it with her arms folded, waiting. Charlie Brown drops into the chair across from her and tells her what has been sitting on him all day. He is depressed. He does not understand why. It is Christmas, and Christmas is supposed to mean something. And for him right now, it is not adding up to anything that feels the way it should. He says it plainly and without much ornamentation, the way someone says a thing they've been carrying around long enough that the words come easily. Lucy listens, and then she goes to work. She begins running through a clinical-sounding list of possible phobias. She names them one after another with complete confidence, as if she is consulting a reference guide that only she has access to.
Here he comes! Attention, everyone! Here's our director!
She asks whether Charlie Brown might have hypengiophobia, the fear of responsibility, or ailurophobia, the fear of cats. She works her way through the list, and Charlie Brown considers each one and shakes his head. Then she gets to panophobia. She explains that panophobia is the fear of everything. Charlie Brown sits with that for a moment, then says, "Yes, that sounds right. That's it. He's afraid of everything." Lucy collects her 5 cents with the efficiency of someone who has been doing this a long time. Then, without pausing, she offers her treatment recommendation. What Charlie Brown needs, she says, is involvement. He's been standing on the outside of everything, watching instead of participating.
Of our Christmas play. Me? You want me to be the director of the Christmas play?
And what he needs is to get himself into the middle of something. And it just so happens, she tells him, that the gang is putting together a Christmas play, a proper production, and they are currently without a director. She does not ask if he wants the job so much as she tells him this is where he will be spending his time. Charlie Brown, without a better option, and with a flicker of genuine hope that having a purpose might help, agrees to take it on. Signs of the season. Charlie Brown heads in the direction of the rehearsal, and the neighborhood keeps offering him things along the way that sit uneasily in his chest. He passes by his own house, and his younger sister Sally intercepts him before he gets far. She has been working on her letter to Santa Claus, and she wants to share it. She reads it to him right there on the sidewalk.
Okay, shoot.
Dear Santa Claus, how have you been? Did you have a nice summer?
And it turns out to be less a wish list and more a formal financial request. Sally informs Santa that she would prefer to receive cash, specifically 10s and 20s, and that if the denominations are not available in those amounts, she is prepared to accept a reasonable settlement of whatever Santa sees fit to allocate. She asked Charlie Brown to sign his name to the letter as a co-sponsor, apparently believing his endorsement carries some weight with Santa's organization. Charlie Brown stares at the letter. He does not say very much. He continues on and passes by Snoopy's doghouse. He stops in his tracks at what he sees. Snoopy has transformed the entire doghouse into a full Christmas display. Lights running along every edge of the roofline, tinsel hanging from the eaves, ornaments covering every available surface.
I don't care. We'll decorate it, and it'll be just right for our play.
The whole thing strung and decorated from top to bottom. Snoopy himself is standing out in front of it, looking enormously self-satisfied. Charlie Brown pieces together that Snoopy has entered a neighborhood Christmas lights and decorating contest. There is a cash prize for the winner. The whole display has been assembled for the purpose of winning that prize. Charlie Brown stands in front of the doghouse for a long moment. He looks at the lights and the tinsel and all the carefully arranged ornaments, and he says out loud to nobody in particular that even his own dog has gone commercial. He shakes his head and walks on toward the rehearsal, the Christmas play rehearsal. The rehearsal is being held inside, a dim room where the gang has assembled with varying degrees of enthusiasm for the Christmas production.
If I make a slashing motion across my throat, it means cut the scene short. If I make a revolving motion with my hand...
Charlie Brown arrives with his director's clipboard, ready to try to run things. What he walks into is not particularly manageable. The kids are already restless before he has said a single word. There is noise and movement and side conversations going in multiple directions at once. Charlie Brown calls the rehearsal to order and tries to establish himself at the front of the room. The attempt lands softly. Nobody stops what they are doing in any real hurry. Lucy makes her position known almost immediately. She wants to be the Christmas queen. She wants a crown. She is not raising this as a suggestion. She is stating it as an established fact that simply needs to be confirmed. The role of Christmas Queen, she explains, is clearly the central and most important role in the production, and she intends to play it.
Have naturally curly hair. Pigpen, you're the innkeeper.
Charlie Brown writes something down on his clipboard. The other kids are similarly occupied with their own priorities. Frida is concerned about the dusty rehearsal room and what it will do to her naturally curly hair. Pigpen arrives in his habitual cloud of dust and settles into a spot on the floor. Various other kids wander around the space with no particular urgency about beginning the rehearsal. Charlie Brown keeps trying to establish some kind of order, and the room keeps resisting. Then Schroeder sits down at his small toy piano and starts to play. The moment the music begins, the whole atmosphere of the room shifts. It is jazz, warm and loose and rhythmic, and the kids respond to it the way kids respond when music suddenly fills a room.
This little green one here seems to need a home.
I don't know, Charlie Brown. Remember what Lucy said?
Snoopy climbs right up onto the top of Schroeder's piano and starts dancing on it. The other kids spread out across the floor and begin to move, each in their own direction and their own style, and within about 30 seconds the rehearsal has become, without any official announcement, a full-scale dance party. Frida is dancing, Pigpen is dancing in his own dusty orbit, Violet is dancing, Lucy is dancing, Schroeder plays, and Snoopy dances on top of the piano, and everyone in the room is moving except Charlie Brown, who is standing at the front with his clipboard watching his production dissolve entirely. Lucy flags the music down at some point and tells Schroeder that the music is too jazzy, that it does not sound appropriate for Christmas, that they need something more traditional.
He was going to keep his trusty blanket with him. See, you wouldn't hit an innocent shepherd, would you?
Schroeder switches briefly, and then one thing leads to another, and the dancing finds its way back. Charlie Brown stands at the front of it all and feels the entire enterprise slipping further and further out from under him. He is the director in name only. Nobody is being directed. Nobody is even particularly aware that they have a director. Eventually, Lucy breaks away from the chaos and pulls Charlie Brown aside. She tells him what the production genuinely needs before anything else can move forward. A Christmas tree. Something for the center of the stage. Something that will give the production a proper look and anchor the whole thing visually. The cast is very specific about what kind of tree they want. One of the new aluminum ones, large and polished and impressive.
We've got to get on with our play.
That's right. What about my part?
Modern, something that makes the right impression. Charlie Brown and Linus are sent out together to go find it. The tree lot? By the time Charlie Brown and Linus reach the Christmas tree lot, the winter evening is settling in around them. The lot is lit up with strings of colored lights, and under those lights stand rows of aluminum trees in various sizes. Pink ones and silver ones, perfectly uniform, every branch shaped and spaced with machine precision, all of them catching the colored light and throwing it back in clean, gleaming reflections. They are undeniably impressive in the way that manufactured things are impressive. Linus walks among them and looks them over with genuine interest.
Tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David.
Charlie Brown walks through them without slowing down. He moves past the tallest and the most polished, past the pink ones and the silver ones, past everything the cast asked him to bring back, and he keeps going until he reaches the very edge of the lot where a single small tree is standing apart from the rest. It has been there a while. It is a real tree, a small, live evergreen sapling with a thin and slightly crooked trunk, sparse and drooping branches with only a handful of needles clinging to them, and the general appearance of something that has not had an easy time of it. Compared to the gleaming aluminum trees behind it, it looks entirely out of place. Charlie Brown stops in front of it and looks at it for a long moment. Linus comes up beside him and stares at the small tree with genuine puzzlement.
Well, tree? It's not bad at all, really. Maybe it just needs a little love.
He asks, sincerely and without any cruelty in it, whether people still even make wooden Christmas trees anymore. He has clearly never seen anything quite like it offered for sale alongside the aluminum models. But Charlie Brown has already made up his mind. He wraps his hand around the thin trunk and picks the tree up carefully. It weighs almost nothing. He tucks it under his arm and carries it away from the lot. He says, or at least he believes, that it just needs someone to take care of it. That something real and small and still alive, however imperfect it looks, is worth more than something that only looks the part without being it. The two of them head back with the little tree. The return to rehearsal. Charlie Brown comes back through the door of the rehearsal room carrying the small tree.
I don't care. We'll decorate it, and it'll be just right for our play.
And the room goes quiet for a moment. All the kids look at it. The tree is visibly not what they asked for. It droops. Its branches sag. It looks like it barely made it to the lot in the first place. Then the laughter starts. Lucy leads the reaction. She does not hold back. She says it is the most pathetic Christmas tree she has ever seen in her life. She says that only Charlie Brown could be sent out to pick a Christmas tree and come back with something like that. She says it loudly and completely. The other kids react in kind. Some laugh, some shake their heads, some do both. The little tree hangs in the air of the room under the weight of unanimous judgment, drooping slightly as if it can sense the verdict. Charlie Brown stands in the middle of the room, holding the tree, and says nothing for a moment.
Take over.
All right, let's have it quiet. Places, everybody.
He had gone out specifically to find something he believed in. He had walked past all the impressive aluminum ones on purpose. He had carried it back through the cold. And now he is standing in front of everyone holding the wrong thing again, and the room is making sure he understands that. The laughter goes on. It settles into the room with that particular quality that comes when a whole group arrives at the same conclusion at once and doesn't bother to soften it. Charlie Brown absorbs it, and then, when there is a break in it, he raises his voice, not in anger, more in desperation, in genuine need. He asks out loud whether there is a single person in the room who knows what Christmas is actually supposed to be about.
That's what Christmas is all about, Charlie Brown.
The room goes completely still. Linus and the true meaning of Christmas. Linus Van Pelt steps out of the group. He is still holding his blanket in one hand, folded against his side the way he always carries it. He walks toward the center of the stage in the quiet room, and before he begins, he calls out for a spotlight. A single spotlight comes on and falls directly on him. The rest of the room stays in shadow. He sets his blanket down on the floor beside his feet. And then, standing alone in the light, he begins to speak in the same calm and unhurried voice he uses for everything. Not performing it, not making it dramatic, just saying it the way someone says something they have known for a long time and believed without reservation. He recites the passage from the second chapter of the Gospel of Luke.
If I'd known you were only going that far, I would have stayed in.
He speaks of shepherds keeping watch over their flocks in the fields outside Bethlehem on an ordinary night. He speaks of the angel appearing to them suddenly, and the light that surrounded them, and the fear that came with it. He recites the angel's announcement that a child has been born that day in the city of David, that this child is a savior, that they will find him wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger. He speaks of the sign given to them, and then of the multitude of the heavenly host that fills the sky after the angel's words, praising God. He recites the whole passage without stumbling, without rushing, without any flourish beyond the words themselves. When he finishes, the room is completely still. Linus bends down and picks his blanket back up off the floor.
Play.
You write it and I'll tell you what I want to say.
Okay.
He carries it with him as he walks back toward Charlie Brown, and when he reaches him, he looks at him and says, quietly and plainly, that is what Christmas is all about. Charlie Brown stands with the little tree in his hands. He looks at it. He looks at Linus. Something in the room is different now. Not because anything visible has changed, but because the silence that followed Linus's words is an entirely different kind of silence than the one that usually settles around Charlie Brown. The tree and the ornament. Charlie Brown takes the little tree outside into the cold night air. The sky is dark and clear. The snow on the ground picks up whatever light there is and throws it back softly. Charlie Brown sets the tree down in the snow and stands in front of it for a moment, just looking at it.
You've been dumb before, Charlie Brown, but this time you really did it.
Then he turns and looks at Snoopy's doghouse, which is still covered in all of its decorations. Every ornament in place, all the lights still strung across the edges, tinsel draped over everything. Charlie Brown walks over to the doghouse and reaches up and takes one single ornament off it, a small, round, red ball, and carries it back to the tree. He places it carefully at the end of the very top branch of the small tree. The branch bends immediately and without much resistance. It is a thin branch on a small tree, and even one ornament is enough to pull it all the way down. The whole tree droops forward under the weight of it, leaning toward the ground, looking worse than it did before he touched it.
Do they still make wooden Christmas trees?
This little green one here seems to need a home.
Charlie Brown stares at it. He looks at the bent branch and the drooping trunk and the one red ornament pulling everything down, and he concludes, standing alone in the cold, that he has somehow managed to ruin it simply by trying to help it. He turns away from the tree and walks off into the night, leaving it there in the snow, crooked and alone. What the other kids do? It is not long before the rest of the gang makes its way outside. Linus is among them. They come around and find Charlie Brown's little tree exactly where he left it, standing slightly off center in the snow with the one red ornament still dragging the top branch down, leaning forward in the blue dark night outside Snoopy's doghouse. Linus walks up to it and crouches down in front of it. He works his hands around the thin base of the trunk and gently eases it back upright, straightening the lean until the tree is standing on its own again.
The kind you can depend on to do anything right. You're hopeless, Charlie Brown.
Then he takes his blanket, the one he has carried in every scene, the one he holds in nearly every situation he finds himself in, and he wraps it carefully around the base of the trunk, tucking it in firmly so that the tree has something solid to stand against. The tree holds its position. It stays upright. The other kids gather in closer and look at it. Then they look over at Snoopy's doghouse. And then, without anyone announcing a plan or taking charge of the situation, they start. One kid reaches up and takes an ornament off the doghouse. Another follows. They carry the ornaments over to Charlie Brown's tree and place them on the branches. Carefully, one at a time.
Who knows what Christmas is all about?
Sure, Charlie Brown. I can tell you what Christmas is all about.
Someone takes a string of lights, someone else brings tinsel. The decorations come off Snoopy's contest display, piece by piece, and migrate over to the small, real tree that Charlie Brown carried home from the tree lot. The branches take the weight. The tree holds what is placed on it. As more ornaments settle onto the branches, the tree begins to fill out. The sparse needles catch the light from the ornaments and reflect it back in small, warm points. The tinsel finds its way into the gaps and softens everything. What had looked like something past saving, too small, too bent, too few branches, starts to look like something else. It starts to look full. It starts to glow from within.
On the contrary, I didn't think I looked that good.
Steadily and warmly, standing in the dark winter night, with Linus's blanket wrapped around its base, and every decoration Snoopy had earned for his doghouse now placed on it instead. When the last ornament is in place, the kids step back and look at it. Nobody says much, they just look at it. It is a beautiful tree. The ending. Charlie Brown comes back through the snow. He makes his way toward the spot where he left the tree, not expecting much. Expecting, if he is expecting anything, to find the same drooping sapling he walked away from, bent under the weight of a single ornament, leaning into the snow. He comes around and stops. The tree is standing straight. It is fully decorated, every branch holding something, lights strung from the tips, ornaments catching the glow, tinsel settling along the edges.
I guess you were right, Linus. I shouldn't have picked this little tree.
The whole thing is lit from within and glowing steady and warm against the dark and the snow. It is almost impossible to connect it to what he left behind 20 minutes ago. It is the same tree, the real tree, the small one, the one everybody laughed at, and it is beautiful. The whole gang is standing around it. They turn when they hear him coming, and together, all at once, every one of them shouts it out. "Merry Christmas, Charlie Brown!" The words hang in the cold air for a moment, bright and clear and full. And then, as snow begins to fall around them in soft, slow flakes, the kids start to sing. Their voices come together in the dark and rise up over the little glowing tree and out into the winter night. Charlie Brown stands right in the middle of them.
Not only getting too commercial, it's getting too dangerous.
Not off to the side, not watching from a distance, but there, in the middle of his friends, in the snow, with the tree he chose shining beside them, and the season finally feeling exactly like what it was always supposed to feel like. If this brought something back that you haven't thought about in a while, or if you're discovering it for the very first time, hit the like button and subscribe. There's a lot more story worth telling right here. See you next time.